Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Collider Recap Show for Supergirl. We are talking episode 12, Bizarro. I am Kaori Takee, and I've got a really fun panel on my right.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see you. My name is Clarke Wolfe. Happy to be here.
And on my left, of course, the Garceau twins.
Hi. Hey, I'm John. It's great to be back on the Supergirl Recap Show. Really happy that I'm back on with you guys.
Oh, well, we're glad to have you. And to your left,
David here. What's happening, Paul? What's happening? First time on the show. Supposed to be on another time, but we had some technical difficulties, so I wasn't able to be on the show. This is my first time actually physically on the show, so I'm excited.
It's
awesome. Welcome.
Supergirl, Bizarro.
Welcome.
Bizarro, yeah.
It's going to be a fun panel. So we are here, and we are going to discuss our positives and our negatives. Of course, nothing ever works out perfectly. So let's just get right into it.
What a high bar you've set for the show.
It's doomed to fail.
No.
Just hold on. We'll see what happens.
No, I like this episode. Come on, guys. Clarke, let's start with you. I'm sure you have tons of positives.
Oh, the most positives. Obvi. You know what? I want to say that my biggest positive, I think, I love the makeup effects on this episode. They look so good. Bizarro Girl looks incredible. I loved once her face cracked as a result of
And her eyes.
Oh, her eyes.
Yeah.
They're just great. Like, you know, we've seen some really cool creatures and makeups in the last couple of episodes, and this one I thought was great. And I like sort of the dual personality, the theme that was running through the episode, whether it was James having two minds about something, about his feelings for Cara, whether it was Kat, you know, suddenly warming up to what was going on, and then unfortunately switching back, whether it was the Bizarro Supergirl and Supergirl. Like, I thought it was kind of neat how the theme was duality in this episode.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. John.
Yeah, Clark's completely right. I mean, obviously that giveaway where Cara was like, it's like another person is in her body, you know, so you got all these things laying out, and I was wondering how long they were going to keep it being Melissa Benoist as Bizarro, and I'm so happy that they made that change and made her Bizarro, because those of us who follow the comics know he's white-skinned and he has, you know, the S is reversed, there's all that kind of stuff, so I enjoyed the fact that they brought Bizarro, or a Bizarro character, into the show so effectively, and then kept all the other storylines balanced and all the plates spinning effectively as well. We dealt with Wynn stuff, we wrapped that up a little bit. We got to James's stuff and reopened that door that's always seems to be always constantly swinging open between them.
Jimmy.
Yeah, and then we got a harder core Maxwell Lord, which I'm 100% happy for.
He was doing some monologue in this episode,
right? And I'm looking forward to see what they do with Maxwell, because Peter Facinelli is having a great time. He's having a great time playing that part, and he's to me he's just so much more. He fits the vibe of the show so well that it's fun that they're giving him this much more to do.
He reminds me of this show's Damien Dark.
That's a great, absolutely.
He's hammy, but he's just on that border, towing the line there, but he does a good job with it.
But he's such a good actor that his ham works with the vibe.
His ham.
Right?
He has good ham.
He's rocking his ham.
Good ham.
He's ruling that. But and also too, I think that, you know, we've seen like a couple of, you know, I've been talking on the show every week about how I think Maxwell Lord is a D, and
that's short for something.
Yes, you can figure it out. There are children who watch this show.
How many letters are that in that one?
No, but you know, it's funny because some of the comments are always like, well, he's like this show's Lex Luthor, but I don't really think he is.
No.
I don't think he's like Lex really at all, or at least how we've seen Lex on Smallville or in the movies or whatever. I mean, you know, I think that he's kind of his own character and his own villain in and of itself, and he's just this really slimy, like, you know, it's just something that we haven't seen yet, and he's doing. I agree, he's doing such a great job.
Well, and you're absolutely right. He's not the Lex Luthor, because with Lex Luthor, it's always about he's fighting for humanity. You can and you even though you might begrudgingly see that, you still see that. With Maxwell, he seems just very like more evil, more slimy, there's just more nefarious reasons for the things that he's doing, as opposed to Lex, which seems to be really about humanity.
He's a billionaire, you know.
He's twirling that mustache.
David, what are some of yours?
Hope Lauren. Hope Lauren, 2 words for my favorite part about this episode.
Bizarro,
Hope
yeah.
Lauren. She was fantastic as Bizarro. Like I said, when they changed her, when she wasn't Benoist anymore, Hope Lauren was I felt for them at the end.
Yeah.
That great conversation, between, it kind of reminded me of like, E.T. and Ellie, like, I'll be right here, that kind of thing. It's just very touch. That's a random reference. I know. I'm busting out E.T. tonight, people.
It's for all the kids in
One
the
of them's
audience.
an alien.
Yeah,
It makes
it's
sense.
an alien. Yeah.
Cara's an
Yeah,
alien.
if you've seen E.T., you know what I'm talking about. This
seen
is
the
a very
movie.
touching moment between
Touching.
Spoiler
It's a
alert.
great- oh,
It's
sorry.
the final.
Spoilers. If you haven't seen E.T.,
You haven't
spoiler.
seen E.T., guys. 30-year
Spoiler.
spoiler alert.
How dare you?
Touching moment. Touching moment.
But I just love their chemistry together. I mean, the fight, the sequence with Bizarro and Jimmy. In the warehouse, warehouse are always in a warehouse. These shows, Flash, Arrow, and no matter if they're in LA or Vancouver shooting, they're always in a warehouse. I love shooting in warehouses, but that was cool. And then, of course, at the end, like I said, on what's not her deathbed, there's hope for her. We're gonna see her again.
Yeah, I wasn't
we're gonna
quite
see her
sure,
again.
but I think
they said
you
they're gonna
guys
put
are
her
saying-
under, and then she's hopefully they're gonna try to work with her and make her better. I hope.
Well, if I
hope.
may add into this, when I was on set a couple of months ago with Ali Adler, who is one of the creators and executive producers of this show, somebody asked, is Cara going to get some form of girlfriend? Because other than her sister. And Ali kind of said, she is. And we kind of all were like, okay, well, would you care to elaborate? And she's like, all I'll say is that she is going to be getting a girlfriend soon.
It could be her.
And so could it be a Bizarro girl? Who knows?
Now, they can. One week they had a pizza and Game of Thrones night, so maybe I don't know if Bizarro can comprehend what's going on in Game of Thrones.
I can't
Pretty
even
complicated plot.
comprehend.
Yeah, I don't-
Jon Snow dead?
Exactly.
Spoiler.
I think my favorite part of this episode was, for me, Alex. I always think that she really steals the show. She's such a powerful character. Even though she doesn't essentially have any superpowers, she seems sometimes even more fearless than Cara. And I love how she stood up to John Johns and said, I care more about my family in this department, so this is what I'm gonna do. I was like, you go, girl. This is why you're so bomb.com. So I really like that. And I also like that for me, who's not a comic book reader, right? I got sometimes confused about Bizarro and what was going on. Like, how does she know who to pick up? How does she know how to fight, and why is it different colors? And then they explain this all this in the episode, and that really helps things like move, and I really appreciate that as well.
Sometimes they explain it right after one of us blurted out a question.
Yes,
Like,
and
hey,
I
wait,
love
how does
that.
she have the DNA to be Supergirl? Oh, well,
Or
let me
when
tell
she
you.
was breaking up with Adam, and we were like, how are they breaking up? They weren't even dating. And Adam goes, how are you breaking up with me? We're not even dating. It was kind of amazing. Like, it was like they could hear us. They have Maxwell Lord's little tracking device in our TV. I also wanted to mention, too, like, I think we got some major reveals tonight about James and Cara.
Yeah.
Like, obviously they have that bro conversation over scotch about like, I like her, but you have a chance, man. And he's like, I know, but I have a girlfriend. And anyway, you
broing
saw
it out.
Yeah,
See,
he's like
broing
broing it out. But it was crazy how, like Bizarro snatches James and says, look, I pulled the person that she loves. But then James comes out with, look, this is why I love Cara.
Right.
And I was like, what?
So was that in your positives, is what you're saying?
It wasn't a negative. It just was a point that I think is really important. Like, that's a huge thing.
It is, and I would actually put it in my negatives only because he had he almost died. He talked about how much he loved her, and he survived, and he had the chance to tell her, and he didn't. He was like, I'm gonna go pick up my girlfriend at the airport.
It keeps us as viewers watching. That's logically why they did it.
Turns around.
They can't have him like come 100% turn around and be like, you know what, I love you all this, because she just survived Wynn's affections. You know what I'm saying?
Just survived
But by that I
infections.
mean like she had to navigate losing her best friend for a little while, and that was probably very difficult for her. So I think the last thing she'd want, especially after a breakup with a guy that she really wanted to be with or explore, was to have James turn around and be like, hey, you know what? I love you too. I think it would have put a lot on top of her.
I think James might have been the exception.
You think so, really?
Yes.
You don't think it's one more on top of another on top of another? Like it's a lot of emotional stuff to deal with?
She really loves James. Like, she's been pining after him for so long that I feel like, wouldn't that be a relief in some ways?
But her smiling when she got the text right in front of James and right in front, that seemed a bit like,
Well, she's moving.
She's got to move on. That's right.
Yeah, people's emotions change real quickly. This
on
one,
this
like,
show, I know.
all of a sudden,
Berlanti has no time.
yeah, I mean, Wynn's joking around about everything.
Yeah.
He's like, "Hey, I was in the friend zone so long. I was thinking about buying some real estate on there." Like, it's
We're
like,
all cool, I guess.
Yeah.
having some whiskey, talking about the same girl. I mean,
Yeah.
bros broing out, but over the same girl. That's a tough bro
That's a
conversation.
tough bro
That's a
You
conversation.
tough
guys
bro
said that was
conversation.
real. You guys said that was
but
thing
not like
people
if
do.
Rocha and I are going after the same lady.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, Rocha, let's have a scotch. Let's talk this
Do you
out.
guys
talk-
Rochambeau for the girls sometimes?
No,
Rochambeau.
No,
Oh my
but
God.
I thought that conversation actually was one of the things that I've enjoyed about the show is the development of that relationship. I
Yeah.
spoke about this last time I was on the show, how much I enjoy James and Wynn like developing their friendship, because I thought they were just going to turn them into rivals, which when we've seen this in reverse, when there's a male lead and the female, like I would thought they were just going to do this all over again, and in fact they haven't, which I really like. And when the Toyman episode really solidified the possibility that Wynn has more going on, even more going on than James, in my opinion, because it seemed like he could play these parts and these levels so much more effectively, and so we can play with that more. And now we have another in the back of our mind thing to throw in between their relationship.
Clarke, you think he's going dark side, right?
You do.
Yeah, that was, well, yeah, I do. I've sort of been thinking that or feeling that since the beginning because, you know, they've set it up so perfectly. This character who's sort of been shunned for, like, his romantic affections, not interested. Cat Grant barely even knows his name. Like, nobody sees him at the office. It's this really interesting character that you could see turning into a supervillain.
Right.
And we watched Wynn, you know, really struggle with the idea
Yeah.
of, could I become my father? But I don't know. I mean, as long as he's a part of that friend unit, I think we're safe. But
Right.
I would not be surprised if in season 2 Wynn goes bad.
Yeah.
Oh.
I feel like he'd be a pliable villain, though, you know, in the sense that he can kind of be convinced to turn good again, if so happens, depending
There's
on
still
how far
good
he
in him.
goes.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, can I jump on that? What you just said, he's still good in him?
Yeah. No,
you can't.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
That's
Sorry,
my
I
point, Ro. You can't
I'm
jump
a
on that.
guest.
That's my
I'm sorry,
point.
I'm a guest. I apologize.
Go.
No, just real quick, the Bizarro Supergirl relationship, to me, it's so great that they brought that relationship over from the Superman universe as well, because that is one of my favorite relationships, because Superman always forgives Bizarro. He always understands that Bizarro is just a person or a thing or an entity that just doesn't have the ability to comprehend all the time as much as Superman does. So it's very simplistic how he can sometimes view things. But he is always constantly trying to figure stuff out. This is where his limitations are, which is why Superman always has a soft place in his heart for him. And it was nice to see Cara play that moment. Like you were saying at the end, you saw that. Their relationship building, what you mentioned, Clarke, about them possibly being girlfriends going forward. I think that's awesome, because that will color a lot of situations as we go forward in the scenes, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry.
I thought he was.
No, I just had a look on my face, but I don't have anything to say. It's like the whole thing in Seinfeld when George like trying to look like he's doing something, like he's busy or something. I'm just sitting here like I'm thinking hard, but I'm really not thinking about anything.
He is resting think
George's like,
face.
David has something to say. Like,
He is
no,
resting
nothing.
think face.
Well,
Yeah.
what I was going to say is sort of on your point, the idea that last week, you know, I was getting, as a viewer, was getting a little fed up with the idea of Cara trying to talk down every single villain every single week. And it's like, sometimes you just like the White Martian.
Yeah.
White Martian is evil, y'all. Like, and White Martian's going to kill you, and White Martian is not going to be reasoned with,
Right.
you know? Or at least that was what was presented to us last week. And so my point is that, you know, I felt like in this episode, it actually made sense for Cara to try and talk Bizarro down. And it was sort of, you know, weaved into the storyline thus far that this is what she does. You know, there have been a handful of other times where I feel like it's felt appropriate, but this was one where, like you were saying, I really felt the emotion of it. And it felt applicable. Like when James was saying, I love Cara because she always sees the good in people, I was like, you know what? That is true. And this is an instance where I think it works.
Can I just ask, I don't want to call this a weakness when we go into the weaknesses, because I have a question, I guess, for the panelists.
Yes, go for it.
I was thinking. No, actually, I was
If
thinking
you
about.
could tweet it and use the hashtag Collider Supergirl.
Can I get the question
Ding,
segment at
ding,
the
we need
end?
a bell for that. Ding, ding, ding.
Just kidding.
So I'm confused with Supergirls, and maybe Rocha, you have better comic book knowledge than I do, but
Yeah, well,
you know. So Superman, his disguise is his humanity. Being a human, being Clark Kent is his disguise. His suit is his real person.
Right.
Okay.
So with Cara, she acts like this kind of cutesy, goofy girl a lot of times, like you know, kind of like that when she's. But it seems like that's genuinely her, though. a lot of times when she's on a date. I don't think she's faking that to seem
No,
human.
no,
so.
no.
Yeah.
But when Clark's Clark, he's just, or when he's
very good
Kal-El,
point,
he's
David.
Kal-El. He's Henry Cavill. I'm Henry Cavill. I'm confident. With her, it's like she's half that way when she's human, but she's also. Is there a?
I think.
Am I missing something?
I think if I had to take a guess into Supergirl logic, the idea is that nope, actually, that's not true. Forget I said anything. Forget I said anything. No.
I'm just not sure, like her identity. It's not. I guess it's not a bad thing. It's just
Well-
interesting with Superman and Clark Kent. There's that.
But I think it works for the show.
I think it just makes her more relatable.
Yeah.
Okay.
It makes
and
it's
also,
believable.
she was a child on Krypton, so her personality was already formed.
Right, she was like
Yeah.
13 or
Yeah.
11 when she
Yeah.
got in the pod.
And so,
Superman wasn't.
yeah, exactly. Kal-El was a baby when they found him.
That's true.
So I would imagine that whatever Ma and Pa Kent imparted on him,
Yeah.
that was Clark Kent.
Right.
That was that's Henry Cavill.
Okay.
Whereas Cara was basically fully formed before she
Yeah, she was already what?
No, thanks for that. This is
Her age now, she's at that age where most people are at that age where they're figuring out who they are.
Sure.
Like they have this talent. And most
we're always
everybody has a
figuring out
talent.
who we are.
It's true. But most everybody has a talent and most everybody has another face they put
Right.
on. It's when you're at that age, you're trying to figure out, especially she's just starting in the workforces, all this kind of stuff. She's figuring out who she really is. And I think
she's
that's
an alien.
nice to watch that. And she's an alien. But it's nice to watch that progression. And Melissa does a nice job creating both of
Well,
those
she's fantastic in
characters.
her role. I want to say,
Yeah,
she's fantastic.
She's the perfect Supergirl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agreed.
Well, let's talk about some things that didn't really work out for us. I am going to go first because I just want to say, and I think we kind of hopped on that a little bit, the pacing of a lot of the love in these shows accumulates just too fast or too slow. It just doesn't make sense. A little too mumbo jumboed for me, especially in this episode. It really showed it. How Wynn gave up on her so quickly. She fell for Adam really quickly. Adam came in last episode, left this episode. It just was too fast for me, and it just doesn't make sense. They need to figure that out.
It is a bit of a trope, that idea of, I'm sorry, I can't, I just have to break up with you. And it's like, I mean, granted, I understand the logic. She's got a lot going on. And to be fair, in this writing, Cara actually does say the line in this episode, between Maxwell Lord and Bizarro and Astra and Non out there. I can't handle all of these villains at the same time. And I think that that's actually a really logical point. So it did make sense that her next step was to go to Adam and be like, look, bro, I can't take this on right now. Like, it's just not, you know. But I still think it's a little cheesy.
Yeah.
That whole well-worn premise.
That's why it seems like James is the logical choice, because she does have feelings for him. James knows she's Supergirl, so he'll understand if she has to leave at a moment's notice to go save the world or something.
But then after he declares his love for her, he's gonna go pick up his girlfriend at the airport.
Well, he's still got to figure out what's going on there. Sometimes
he doesn't go figure out what's going on there, but he was
Sometimes
about to tell
a man
her.
got to figure stuff out.
He was about to tell her at the balcony about his feelings.
I would go ahead and stay out of this
I was
conversation.
gonna say, he got some things to think about on the drive to the airport. Obviously, we don't know if he's going to break up with her that night. So he's just got to handle his business first before he starts something
That's
else.
not he was
You guys
thinking.
handle hit business.
That's respectful. He said, I'm gonna break up here, and then I'm gonna start something here.
All I know is
Something-
that
Relationship
Tell you.
advice in the Supergirl recap show, ladies and gentlemen.
What are some things that didn't work out for you?
I would say for me, I don't believe. How can I say this correctly? I'm getting a little what's the word? I guess I'm just a little getting
Perturbed?
I'm getting perturbed by the Lucy Lane stuff. Like all of a sudden she was around all the time. Like Kat hired her last episode.
Yeah.
Last I
That's right.
checked, she hired her last episode, and then they just get rid of her randomly whenever they want. And then they say, oh, she was visiting her dad in Washington D.C. Didn't she hate her dad? Didn't her dad have issues with him being
I think
black
these
or
shows.
not
I don't think
good
it's
enough for
budget.
him? Yeah,
think
but
it's-
I guess so. But it just like it just seems like it
Right,
just seems a little bit like you're giving me a character and then you're making it a very integral part and even an obstacle between these two coming together. You can't just let her go and then there's not.
It's
a-
kind
just
of
for
like
me.
Astra too. Like Astra
Yeah.
is like
Right.
this major, scary, important threat, and then we don't see her for 4 weeks.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
kind of like, all right, well, if she's either a major, important, scary threat or she's not. Like you can't have her be this. And if she's going to be a hovering presence, she needs to make her presence known.
Right.
Like if we were really supposed to be threatened by Astra and Non, I need them as a viewer to communicate that threat, even if they physically don't show up. It's kind of like Clark IMs her every now and again
Yeah,
and
yeah.
says,
Right.
"Hey,
You doing
Cara,
okay?"
what up?" Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like we feel his presence there. We know that Clark is always around. That's what they want us to know. So I'm not saying that Astra and Non need to like I am her and be like, we're still watching you. But I mean, I feel like we could feel that threat a little bit more.
Astra is tag teaming with Maxwell Lord, okay?
But we don't know that.
I'm just kidding. David, what are some things?
Even though I already said, like, I think it's a budget thing, I'm going to piggyback off all you talking about. For me, it's the Martian Manhunter storyline. I wanted more of that. We had almost back-to-back episodes with Martian. We had the awesome White Martian attack. Again, another threat. There's this threat of potentially thousands of White Martians that can descend on Earth at any time and wipe everybody out. But it's like, but Cara's got to go on a date. And do that. Life has to go on, I guess. But I think we're not going to see White Martians and Green Martians all the time. I realize it's a budget thing. I think that's the thing with a 22 episode season. There's so many episodes they can't focus on one tight storyline. They have to go really broad sometimes, which is okay.
And
I just kind of miss that.
They only thought they had 10 to start, or 10 or 12 to start. So finding out you're getting picked up in the back half, which I'm so glad that they did. But at the same time, you can't weave this whole series.
This isn't like an HBO where they're picked up for 10 episodes. You got it, do your show, and then you go home. Yeah,
exactly.
This is that's fine.
We haven't even mentioned Kat. Like, I'm sorry to bring it up now. Kat was fantastic.
She's
always fantastic.
She's
great.
She's listen. I want to be full honest. I was not the biggest Ally McBeal fan. I was not a big fan of Kalista. Kalista is phenomenal in this show.
So good.
For every she gets she becomes almost like what Ed Kavanaugh is on Flash. Like she is the solid. I'm sorry, Tom Kavanaugh. He was in that show. Ed, I always get that mixed up. But she becomes that emotional center, that powerful acting force.
You can tell she's not phoning it in.
Yeah,
she's working for that.
And you can tell she's enjoying it.
Yeah.
Like her switch on Cara at the beginning, and then her switch later. Like, that's a powerful scene for her to be like, because they've shared a lot of emotional moments. And that may have been what she was alluding to, the producer lady, Eileen, to her being her girlfriend was Kat. But it seems like that's not happening now. And that was such a powerful moment to have. And so it's not a negative. I thought it was great.
I mean, for me, Kalista and Alex, the actress, those two are the ones that steal it.
Oh, yeah,
every
Kalista,
time.
She's great.
Kalista, that final scene where she was essentially saying, like, I'm not going to be your surrogate mom anymore. I was just kind of like, wow, this is so brutal. It was really sad. And I think too, the amazing feat that Kalista performed as an actress was you could feel the hurt on behalf of her son.
Yes.
As in, like, this is my son and you broke his heart. Yeah. But you could feel the hurt on behalf of her too. And so it was, she's incredible.
And still had the moment to give her the life lesson. To still be her surrogate mom, even at the
life
end.
lesson too.
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have anything that didn't work for you?
No, I think my only thing was what we talked about a little earlier was sort of whatever it was. I really mostly liked this episode.
It was a good episode.
Whatever the thing was.
I mean, Wynn getting over her that quickly, a little bothersome, but it works for the storyline. So.
I mean, he has to move on.
Yeah, he has to move on.
He works with her.
And, he didn't talk to her for like the whole episode last week. So I guess he was mad at her for a whole episode.
Which could be weeks.
We don't know.
They got to get moving. They got to get moving. All right, guys. So now we're about to take your Twitter questions. And don't forget, you can always send over those questions and comments at #ColliderSupergirl. All right, let's go. Question number 1. By Bazinga Guy. Did you like them taking the storyline from Superman, and do you want to see them do more Superman stories? David?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, always. Yeah, always.
You
I got that.
so I was like,
He's like,
always like I'm deep in thought. I don't have anything going on in there. No, I probably shouldn't admit that. No, I do.
You're smart.
We get a lot of stuff. We get Livewire. Martian Manhunter usually works more with Superman and the Justice League, especially if you watch like Justice League the animated series, which I was a big fan of. And so I think we need more of that. It's good.
And next week is For the Girl Who Has Everything, based on the Alan Moore comic for the Man Who Has Everything. And so they are repurposing these stories in that story.
Because we were talking about this earlier. We're not, most like outside the cartoons, we know we're getting a new Justice League animated series, like Bruce Timm and those guys are working on that, which is going to be awesome. But we're not going to get a live action Superman series outside of Smallville, probably anytime soon. We're not going to get a live action Batman series, that's for sure, outside of the cartoons. So this is the second best thing we're going to get. It's good. I shouldn't call it second best. It's good.
Sure.
It's entertaining.
And it's good to have her Supergirl's rendition of it as well. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, they've done a nice job of working in the pseudo Lex Luthor. Now you've got Bizarro, and
maybe we'll get like Apocalypse.
Yeah, I'm waiting for
Darkseid, not Darkseid.
Darkseid. Darkseid works.
Yeah, Darkseid. Yeah. I'm getting all my villains mixed up. My roads. I'm a little bit off tonight.
No, I mean I would like to see that too, but
Yeah.
also you have the Lucy Lane allusions. You have all this stuff that can happen and still still is in play that is Superman related, but they do a nice bit to make it uniquely their own. And
Yeah.
I think the creators should be lauded for that, and the writers and everybody involved with the show, because they do a nice job of giving you shades of Superman, but there's enough personality and well written stuff to make it its own.
I think
they're-
because they're. Oh, I'm sorry.
And
No,
I'm waiting for Brainiac. That's the one, their version of Brainiac, which might be what came out of that pod, and I don't know
what
at the end of
was
the show. I don't
that?
know.
What was that
spider
final
Who put that
creature?
there?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think like they really tried to reinforce the fact that this is not Superman, and that they gave that to us in the first couple episodes.
Yeah.
You know, and I think they did it so well. So now we really figure that Supergirl is its own entity, but yet we have, you know, things of Superman, and it really works.
I'm sorry to interrupt real quick. I forgot. I should say, because we may actually get Tom Welling said he would like to play Superman at his current age in the show. So if we saw him, that would be cool. So we might
So
get a live
awesome.
action Superman.
I bet you would, Tom
That'd be awesome.
Welling. I think everyone
Boy
wants
needs
to
work.
see that.
Give him work.
Give my man work.
He needs work.
It's rough up in Canada.
Clark, did you have something to say?
No, no.
See, you get that. See it happen sometimes.
No, I mean, I'm sure I did, but let's move on.
I have all these smart-looking people next
like,
to me,
look.
always in
It's just the
thoughts.
glasses.
All right, next Twitter question. Mark Pope says, "Will they ever use the red and blue kryptonite in this show?" Well, they did.
We
use
saw
one.
the blue tonight.
Yeah, we saw the blue tonight.
I don't see why not.
Yeah.
I don't see why not.
I hope that this show, you know, to a lot of these points and to a lot of the questions about villains or about Miss Martian, I see that question a lot. Like, do you think Miss Martian's going to come?
Oh, yeah.
I think, you know, we have to understand and remember that we're just in season 1.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's so much universe and there's so much arc and there's so much story there that, you know, once we start like, if Supergirl gets picked up for season 2, I think we're going to get much heavier into mythology. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's going to, I don't think the show's going to change.
Right.
I think the tone and the feel is still going to be the same, but I think we're going to really dive into that comic world a little deeper. And you know, one of the thing I was going to say on our last question was that, you know, when you listen to the creators of this show, it's clear they love this source material so much, and they know it inside and out. Like, you've never heard a bigger fan than Andrew Kreisberg. Like, he knows his comics. And it's kind of amazing too that they have, like you were saying, Kaori, like a real affection for Supergirl. They're not trying to turn her into Superman. But they are telling these canon stories through her lens. I think that's really special.
Well,
Yeah, I agree.
And that's what you see in the blue and red kryptonite. That's, once again, it's another, it anchors us in the familiar Superman story. This is what we know, what we've grown up with. But as I was on the Supergirl panel recently at the Comic-Con over in LA, and I had to do a lot of research to be on the panel, and Supergirl has an incredibly rich history of her own with Aqualad character. Like, there's a bunch of characters that they can still play with. She exists in numerous centuries, so there's a lot of stuff that they can start exploring. And as Berlanti is showing in Flash now, there are portals to other universes that he can do effectively on that show. So why not do that here and give Supergirl and I think that's what they're doing in season 1. They're just anchoring us in the Superman thing, so we got it, and then they're going to take off in season 2 and give her her own history, her own story, her own mythology within that TV universe. And I can't wait for that. It's so much going to be so much fun.
I just hope they don't go super dark, like how Arrow became.
Right.
I don't
can't
see
imagine
this
that.
show.
I don't think so.
But she might
It's
have to
CBS.
save her city.
Well, it's CBS. I'd be surprised if they took it too dark.
All right, last question of the night. We've got Emily Blue. Hello. Do you think we will see Adam again by the end of season? Loved their relationship and was sad to see him leave. Well, I think we'll see him again. I definitely do. I think because as long as he ties into Calista Flockhart's character, I think it's really important to have him around. Here and there.
I don't know. I don't know if we'll really get a lot of time with Adam.
No, not much.
So I feel like
Yeah.
he's gonna get in the way of her and James. I like her and James
That's
better.
a good point.
That's the vehicle, yeah.
He's gonna get in the way.
Well, I think he's definitely coming back. A, he's married to Elizabeth Noyce, so that kind of helps. And B, I think they might use him for the cliffhanger at the end of the season.
Really?
Because she has so much affection for him, and it's unrequited
Does
now.
he have like really that much affection for him?
She did.
They
I mean-
smooched.
It's yeah.
She's never smooched anyone else.
Sometimes it's the unknown
Those are
that you
first
can
kiss?
I
create.
think so.
Oh,
Well, Wynn
yeah.
kissed her, but she was like, "What?"
Yeah,
Oh, right, yeah,
that was
right,
that
that's
was
right.
so well done.
It was so awkward.
I just, their relationship for her to fall so hard, so quick after 2 dates, it was like, oh, come on.
Well, I'm not saying they're in love. I'm saying that she has affection for him and interest for him, and it's interest that wasn't consummated. So it's like anything could happen. She still has a soft place in her heart for him, so they could use him as being in peril at the end of the season in some kind of season finale.
As long as it's not a dilemma between him and something really important.
James?
Like James.
Yes.
I will give you a choice. You can choose. You can only choose one.
Adam or James?
Yeah, Adam or James. Oh no, Brainiac, no.
I'm choosing James.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll tell you that right
I
now.
know. Like, yeah, James, I got that.
I choose Team James. Team James. Hashtag.
David, do you think you'll see Adam again?
I think so. I think we'll see him.
Yeah.
But like you guys, I don't know if I buy the relationship because it was so fast. But I think it's important for Kat. Maybe even more than for Supergirl. So if anything, I hope he's around for Kat because they can work on their relationship. That was nice. Like,
You know, to your point, John, maybe in the finale, what we're going to see is something happening to Adam and Kat blaming Supergirl.
Right.
So Kat turns on Supergirl.
Oh, it could be.
And that's our finale.
Yeah, because it could go back to establishing that page.
Because, sorry, go ahead.
I had one last thing to add about Adam. Adam, they made a point of saying Opal City.
Yeah.
Opal City is where Starman's at. I mean, he's a good-looking dude. Is he young? He could be another hero. He could become Starman. There's certainly a possibility. I know Starman's Ted Knight or his the other version of Knight, but like it could be that. So that I'm glad that they have now announced Opal City is in the universe. That's like okay, anything is in play now here.
I think I would be interested to see with Kat. This is just I'm making this up completely, making this up. But I think because I remember the Kat from the beginning of the season, and Kat Grant in the beginning of the season was purely trying to use Supergirl for I don't know if malicious is the right word, but she didn't have any affection for her. She didn't care about her, right? And at this point now, she's very protective over her, as Kat has said, because she named her and like whatever. But I think it's because she thinks it's Cara. So anyway, the point is that, how interesting would it be if in season 2, Kat has it out for Supergirl and uses her media influence, to really cause trouble.
Yeah.
Very interesting, but very tragic at the same time.
Yeah, that
PR
was
nightmare for Cara if that happens.
Yeah, if you have Maxwell Lord and Kat teaming together, it's certainly a
And
powerful
they used to
duo.
date.
Yeah.
But no, she can just
I
IM her cousin and be like,
know.
Clarke, I'm having a tough day. Oh, yeah.
He's like, I am high.
Yeah, smiley face.
Poop emoji. All right, guys, that completes our after show for this week. Don't forget, you can always send over those questions and those comments as we respond to them all week long, 24/7 at #ColliderSupergirl. I would like to thank my panelists over there, David.
Thanks for having me. It's great being out here talking about some Supergirl. David Griffin. You can find me on Twitter at GriffinDE. It's the only social media you can find me on. And I'll be here tomorrow with 3 other crew here talking about Flash. And then I'll be also Star Wars Rebels later on this week.
You only have Twitter?
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to tag you on Instagram once and I couldn't. I felt very bad.
I'm off the grid. You can't find me.
How long have you been on the Flash show with him? You don't know he is.
That's the first time he said, I only have Twitter. All right.
Oh, yeah. Hey, guys. John Rocha at The Rocha Says, my homage to The Rock. Follow me there. You can see all the shows I'm hosting, all the podcasts I'm on, and also possibly an announcement coming soon about a certain theme park I'll be working at
Dum,
in,
dum,
in a certain
dum.
land with wands, maybe. All right.
With wands? I think you gave a
Gee,
big
I
indication.
wonder
I know.
I can't officially say.
And Clarke, where can people find you?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Periscope at Clarke Wolfe, Clarke with an E, Wolf with an E, and on YouTube, youtube.com/official Clarke Wolfe.
And you can find me everywhere, YouTube, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, all that good stuff.
Twitch.
Right down there, Twitch. Playing games Friday night, Thursday night. I have no life. What's up? KAORIOUS. That is at Kaori. And thank you guys again for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next week for some more Supergirl After Talk.